All around me in this place, things seemed quiet. Too quiet. No entities or items seemed to be nearby, so I ventured down some hallway only to bump into an old man.
"Clocksmith,"
A voice whispered into my ear. It was incredibly eerie, but I couldn't look away from him. Something about him seemed uncanny. He held the mirror piece I'd seen described in Freeman's notes, though he spoke no words as I came near to him. He handed the mirror off to me, but before I could say a word, he appeared to fade away. Where he'd been standing, I found some death moth jelly and a gas mask. The strange experience left me feeling uneasy, but equipped for the journey ahead. Swallowing my fear, I headed down another hallway. On the other side were the golden stairs Freeman had written on, and a smiler. Monstrous teeth gleamed in the darkness, though the creature only leered at me for the moment. It seemed drawn to the stairs but stayed at a distance, and I kept my own, pacing down another hallway. A hound was prowling nearby, though I managed to snag a peculiar shroom. Boom Shroom, I'd read the name earlier. They could do some damage, so it was best to snatch them up on sight. After stowing away the shrooms, I noticed the smiler inching closer. It seemed the stairs had lost their luster, so now I was the new target. I threw the boom shrooms in its face, though it wasn't down yet. It seemed like the warnings about this level beefing up the entities wasn't a lie. Taking a series of poisoned hauls, I passed by an ancient hound and only stopped when I heard a heavy thud behind me. About 10 feet away, the smiler was no longer smiling. A creeping hound sniffed at the air. Unscrewing the lid, I rolled the death moth jelly jar near it. The beast shivered in excitement, rotting tail swinging about as it dug its horrifying face into the jar, causing it to bounce away until it smacked against a wall. I passed behind the beast into another hallway, only come face to face with the faceless horror itself, the Faceling. In a panic, I pulled the first item I could out of my pocket, slapping it with the mirror piece. The item activated, piercing white light shining through the surface of the mirror. The Faceling groaned and gagged somehow without a mouth, sending shivers of horror throughout my body. It didn't go down though, so I dodged its flailing arms and took off down one of the poisoned halls. Lucky day. Sitting on the ground only a second or two away were another death moth jelly and mirror piece, almost like this place had been waiting for me to show up to offer some replacements. Snapping up the mirror piece, I turned back just as the Faceling was rapidly moving through the poisoned halls towards me. The poison seemed to seep through its skin, but it refused to go down. Taking aim, I activated the mirror piece just as it was within a few feet. Again, the mirror powered up and began to direct a piercing stream of light into the entity. I backed away quickly, retreating down a non-poisoned hallway for once, but caught the attention of the hound from before. The jar had been absolutely demolished by the beast, and it snapped to attention as I passed by. I put it out of my mind for the time being as I kept an eye out for the death moths. If I was going to be attacked soon by some superpowered faceless monster, I wanted to find those moths to get prepared. I searched far and wide, heading through room after room, finding nothing of interest. This place felt impossibly huge and random, but at the end of all of that nonsense, I managed to pick up a flash sphere and some liquid pain. Heading down another hallway, I felt the air leave my lungs for a moment as a towering figure approached, the ancient Faceling. Dressed in ceremonial warrior's garb, it held its weapon at its side, fingers twitching in anticipation. Brandishing the mirror piece, the piercing light struck the creature, but that only seemed to make it angry. It roared, a battle cry that echoed all around me, so I took off down a poisoned hall as it stomped full speed ahead towards me. The poison battered the ancient Faceling, but it stood strong still. A smiler popped into view, along with some deadly death shrooms. The mirror piece sent another round of piercing light at the ancient one, and I heard its grunt of pain as I snatched the death shrooms off the floor and dodged into a hallway, then down a poisoned hall. A blusher rushed out of the darkness, snatching some of my precious stamina. Bypassing it, I continued leading the ancient Faceling around by its non-existent nose until I heard its fatal cry ring out behind me. I turned back, feeling the breath return to my lungs, and approached the ancient Faceling's crumpled form. It had been a real trial to take this thing down, but those mirror pieces and poisoned hallways had done their work, and rendered this thing powerless for the time being. I noticed the intense red glow coming from its body. Reaching down, I parted some of its clothing, and found a shiny red gem in the remains, the Painite gem. Freeman had described it as being beautiful and entrancing, and he hadn't been lying. It was gorgeous, and seemed to illuminate the area all around me, like it was softening the darkness. I stowed it away carefully. Heading back toward the poison hall I'd come through before, I saw the blusher creeping up on me. Tossing the hefty liquid pain bottle at it, the liquid drenched the entity, though it refused to go down yet. Taking off down a nearby hallway, and then a poisoned hall, I suddenly felt the world around me go crazy. Lights flickered intensely, then the whole place was plunged into darkness. It was like the whole of the backrooms blinked, and then I was back. The blusher had vanished. I blinked, but looking around, I realized the layout also felt different. Now a fierce-looking ancient hound was sniffing around the floor, having not noticed me yet. Nearby, I also spotted some death moth jelly and a mirror piece. Out of the darkness stepped a large bird creature, an archraven. I recognized the archraven from a small sketch I'd seen in the Freeman notes. This wasn't apparently the most dangerous creature, as it had been known to bestow gifts to wanderers. Both of our attention was captured by a large hole ripping open in a nearby wall. The void spread over the surface, eating away at its surroundings and snatching some death moth jelly to the raven's consternation. Kneeling down, I scooped up the mirror piece before it, too, became a victim of the monstrous void. I jetted down a hallway and hopefully out of reach of the hell mouth that had opened up, and was taken by surprise when a fluttering of wings before my face nearly made me fall back. The skull on its body told me all I needed to know. It was a death moth. Following it, I felt a surge of anticipation for what I might find at the end of the path. Boom shrooms were the answer, so I gratefully accepted the item and tossed some death shrooms to make room for it. The moth had disappeared when I grabbed the shrooms, so I silently bid it farewell and turned the corner. Down another hallway, I spotted some shock shrooms, though I was full up by this time. Past another poisoned hall, I saw a wall that didn't look quite right. It seemed to be slightly tilted, so I pushed against it and realized it was a false wall. I wondered where it went, but before I had a chance to get much further, I heard some noise behind me and turned to see a blusher stealing some more of my stamina. Without hesitation, I tossed my flash sphere at it and ran down a poisoned hallway, then another hallway before noticing a smiler leering at me. I turned the other way and went down another poisoned hall before I saw a flutter of wings. The death moth beautifully floated to and fro before landing in my hand. It seemed to dissolve into thin air, leaving a death moth jelly in its place. A sense of calm fell over me for a moment, like I'd been put into a trance. I shook it off and headed down another hallway. I feel like I'd done everything I could here, so it was time to find those golden stairs and see where they might take me. As I exited the hallway, the smiler I'd passed before latched onto me, closing in aggressively, yet its smile never lessening. I broke out the mirror piece, letting the piercing light do its work as I ducked into a poisoned hall, hoping it could help finish this thing off. Another mirror piece was stuck against the wall, though the poison in the first mirror were enough to send the smiler crashing into the wall and plopping to the ground. With that threat behind me, I left one hallway and entered another, only to be met with one of those hounds. Grabbing the mirror piece I had seen before, I bypassed the hound and headed into a destroyed hall. The mysterious clocksmith wasn't too far away with a death moth clinging to his fingers.
Almost there.
The voice of what I could only assume was the clocksmith rang through my head, but in a gentle way this time. As I ventured into another hallway, the lights again flickered and everything shut down on me. Moments later, the place roared to life again, though things were again rearranged. Clocksmith remained, though now an ancient hound lingered across the way. The void had resurfaced as well, and this time it sucked the death moth jelly right out of my pocket. However, I again saw the false wall slightly ajar, so I rushed over to it and ducked through the opening. The hound vanished from view, revealing only a host of rooms. I couldn't decide where it would be best to go, so I took a corner and spotted that ancient faceling again. It had resurrected just as Freeman hypothesized. I shivered, thinking back to how it had hunted me earlier, and went back through the false wall from before. I emerged into a space with only the gentle fluttering of a death moth. Was this really the same false wall as before? I continued moving, searching out those precious stairs, even going back through the false wall again. A smiler was waiting for me this time, but also I finally located the stairs. However, the smiler stood in the way, so I got its attention and let it nip at my heels as I carefully maneuvered around it. Then, with the golden stairs finally unblocked, I rushed towards them with the smiler hot on my heels. But with gem in hand, I stomped up those stairs two at a time and finally made it through. Thanks for watching the first playthrough for Season 3. If you're interested in participating, come check out the official Backrooms Discord server where you'll find all the details for the chapter as well as upcoming chapters. Each season is 8 weeks long with new challenges every week, so come watch the story unfold. If you enjoyed it, give the video a like, and subscribe to see more playthroughs, unboxings, and anything else Backrooms TCG related. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Take care.